Thank you everybody for attending and joining us for the webinar. This is going to be a nice, short, simple, and sweet introduction to the Junior Wildlife Scientist program. Really, today I just want to give you a brief overview of the materials that are in your packets. But really, I just want to introduce the program, go through the components of what is included in that kit, and then share some advice from some of the teachers who helped us pilot the program. So just as a reminder, one of our missions for the outdoor classroom program has been to educate children so that they can make balanced decisions about the wise use and conservation of our wildlife and natural resources. And then we also just want to get them outdoors. That's one of our main missions. We work with schools throughout the state to set up outdoor habitat that can be used as an outdoor classroom. And we really wanted to make something that would make it easy for the teachers to get their kids outdoors and do something fun and educational outdoors, because it's great if you can set up that space, but it's even better if you can easily use it and have everybody feel really comfortable using that space. And so really the Junior Wildlife Scientist program, we wanted to increase hands-on learning opportunities, which are always great for the students. We wanted to increase their exposure to our native wildlife and the outdoors. And then we also want to increase their academic achievement. So that's kind of the goal of the program. And really with the program, it's very student-centered. The students get to become the junior wildlife scientists. So the whole goal is they've got this notebook that's theirs and they get to have it throughout the whole school year. And as they're doing these activities, they're like earning these badges. And as they earn these badges, they're becoming, the scientist for that year. And at the end of the year, they get a little certificate that tells them that they're a certified, whatever scientist level they are for that year. So really, as it's very student-centered, and it makes it really fun. It makes learning fun. They're getting outdoors, so it's accomplishing, hopefully, all of these goals that we want to accomplish. So really quickly, before I go into like everything in the kits, I do want to give a couple of our pilot teachers the chance to share their advice because I know that they have to hop off and go. So Allison, if you want to go first, that would be awesome.
Okay, that'll be
Thank you.
perfect. I'll be glad to. I guess one of the biggest things that I'd like to share with everyone is just make sure that you give yourself enough time to complete the activities. I know that when I was working with the pilot, the weather that spring was kind of erratic. So things that we needed to get outside and be able to observe or do things like that, we really had to squeeze it in right there at the end, and I was almost worried we weren't going to be able to finish. So I've learned from my personal experience that I've already started my journals, and we're already two activities into the journal. So I keep those other activities that just require maybe the website or a page in the journal itself for days that are rainy days. And then I can't go out, but I plan to do a journal activity that particular day. So just kind of give yourself a little flexibility because life is going to happen. Things are going to happen that are out of our control. And don't, another thing about the journals, they're really, really nicely organized into the activities and the progression and everything. But don't feel like that you're bound by starting at page one and going all the way to the very end in the order that the journal is. For example, I know that my first and second graders in the STEAM lab, we're starting adaptation and habitat unit. So we last week we did the beginning activity about zoologists just to kind of get familiar with the journal, just to get outside, just to kind of go through the rules and kind of how things work. And then this week we went ahead and jumped right into and went over to the host plants and caterpillars because I tied in the fact that those host plants are the habitat for the caterpillars. And so I'm kind of putting those two things together. So just incorporate the activities as you have things that are in your regular curriculum that you're covering already. Just pull those things in as extra resources. And I guess my final thing that I'd like to share with you is just be you, do you. They're great suggestions that are in the journals, and the activities have really been carefully constructed and vetted and piloted. But everybody has their own unique teaching style. So take the resource that you have and adapt that to the way you teach and the way your students learn. And your kids are going to really, if you do it and go out, they're going to want to go out like all the time. They will come into your classroom saying, if you're a special class teacher, they'll come into that classroom that once or twice a week and be like, are we going outside today? Or if you're a regular classroom teacher, they'll be wanting to have science time because they'll be wanting to know if we're going outside. And I really stress that learning time doesn't end once we leave the classroom. Learning time is part of that outdoor classroom experience too. So, they're really excited, and they get very, very excited about the badges. We have a little ceremony for them where we give them their badges. We actually got the local newspaper to come out and cover that for us. We made a really, really big deal out of their hard work, because you're going to have put in a lot of hard work by the time you finish the journals, and so have the students. And it's just going to be a really great learning experience for you as a teacher and for your students as young learners.
Hi, my name is Todd McDonald. I'm the librarian at Walter Jackson Elementary School in Decatur, Alabama. Besides being in the library, I'm fortunate enough to be in charge of our school's outdoor classroom and vegetable gardens. We have, like I said, 3 vegetable gardens, outdoor classroom with everything from a wildlife bird area to a little fish pond to a sensory garden. And over the past few years, I've been really fortunate to be able to help the AWF get their junior wildlife scientist program together. The AWF has worked really hard to make these just perfect for classroom teachers, librarians, STEM teachers. Almost whatever you do in a school, you can fit this into your program, I believe. Like what I'm going to do, we're going to focus on Fridays, but it doesn't have to be Friday. We're going to start in the library, introducing when we first started it about 2 weeks ago. We watched some of the videos that come with the kit, and those videos are great. You can scan a QR code. You can just type it into YouTube. And then that was a great introduction. And then we followed that up with one of the read alouds. One way we used the videos during the very first lesson, while kids were writing their name, the video was playing in the background for the kids that got done early. So it gave everybody something to do. No one was bored. No one was getting in trouble. So the beauty about the wildlife kits is there's so many choices. And then once we got done with some of the preliminary items like writing names, taking the pledge, we talked about rules, going outside, what to do, what not to do. And the teachers, they did the first one with me so they could see like, hey, this is easy. This is like a regular classroom lesson. We have an introduction. We have an implementation. We have a follow-up. We have assessment. So it has everything that you need to do it inside, start inside, give those introductions, go outside, do the actual activity outside, then come back in, follow up with a drawing, with a chart activity. I showed the kids the merit badges that they're going to get. They're excited about the quality of these badges and how they're going to go from year to year to year. So by the time they get 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they're going to be hanging all over their backpacks, and they really oohed and awed over the certificates that they get on awards day, how they say that they're official scientists. And I made a big deal about, the Alabama Wildlife Federation. Really let the kids know that this isn't some, just other program that's here one day and gone the next. This is a year-long program. It's professionals that have put it together. It's a beautiful product too. Once you get your kit and look at it, the pages are beautiful. The layouts are beautiful. They're eye-catching. So AWF has done a great job putting these together. I also want to brag on the websites that are available through the kit. So you can go to AWF's website and you can get even more activities, more follow-up activities, more books. If you're the OC, the outdoor classroom coordinator at your school, whether you're a classroom teacher or librarian or STEM teacher, whatever group you're working with, do check in on your teammates. Ask them how it's going. Could you help? Maybe combine a class, do it all at the same time together. So those are some pieces of advice I give. Check in on your teammates, and when December gets here, the first time to award the first badges at the beginning of December, really take a look at where you are. Make it a big deal. Put it on your school news show. Put it on your announcements. Tell the parents about it. Teachers, if you've got enough of the kits, of the books, you might become a wildlife scientist. I said, we've got some extra ones, and I personally plan to do it with the kids too. If we've got extra, because I want them to see me wearing my badge and doing my book and everything. I think they might get a kick out of your teacher doing it too. I'm excited about it because it ties in with literacy, library. It ties in with technology, the websites and everything that you're doing. It ties in with math. It ties in with weather. It ties into graphing, social studies, the mapping, and there's some history and stuff in there too. There's reading. There's handwriting. Almost every standard you can imagine. The standards are even listed. So that's long story. I know, long story. That's how we plan to implement it. We've kicked it off all together. I'm letting the teachers kind of fill it out, and then each month I'm gonna check on them, and we're gonna do it together. Teamwork. That's what's gonna make this happen. It's gonna make our outdoor classroom more beautiful because people are gonna be out there more, and so they can tell me and other people, hey, we need more water in the pond, that sort of thing. So again, as you can probably tell, I give the kit 2 thumbs up, and it looks like I'm giving you some fireworks right now. And I agree that the fireworks for this program are well deserved. I hope you enjoy it. We're looking forward to the next kits coming out next year. We think this is going to be a really good program.
Thank you so much. So now I want to jump into what's in the Junior Wildlife Scientist kits, that when you place an order, you get all of these things included in one kit. So the kit would have arrived in this little white kind of envelope sort of deal. And on the very first 2 things were going to be a cover letter and an activity schedule. Those were just 2 just sheets of paper. Those would be the first 2 things. There's 1 teacher guide in each kit for whatever grade level it is. And then there's 1 nature notebook per student. And we've used the word journal before, and we've kind of gone back and forth between journal and notebook. I've used the word notebook throughout this presentation, but they're the same thing. So nature notebook, there's 1 nature notebook for each student. So if you have a class of 20, you should have received 20 notebooks for your kiddos. And then there's 2 merit badges per student. We'll go through those in a little more detail as well. And then there's 1 certificate of achievement for each student for that level that they're in as well. So that's everything that's in the kit. And now I'm going to kind of break down each component. And I'm going to start with the student portion because that is kind of the center of the program. It's very student-based, and that's where all the activities are and everything. So the student notebook itself, it's going to be really colorful and really fun, and there should be 1 for each student in there. And each page or each set of pages, whether it's a 1-page or a 2-page activity, they are all educational. They're all correlated to the State Department of Education standards for teaching, integrating, STEAM with English and language arts. They should be really quick and easy to use for any teacher, regardless of whether or not you teach science or you're just a general, elementary, 2nd grade teacher and not science specific. And really, we want those activities to get students excited. And as I mentioned before, these were all, we piloted these, and they were reviewed and tested and improved upon by the teachers that helped us with that. Those are the student notebooks. And within each grade level, within each notebook, there are kind of some standard activities. So whether you're teaching kindergarten or 2nd grade, or whenever we get, the 5th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade notebooks ready to go and out there, they're all going to have some kind of a similar breakdown of activities. It includes the very first 2 activities is what does an ologist do? And that is going to be a really good intro activity for that, that year, whatever you're studying. If you're studying herpetology or if you're studying zoology, it's going to be a really great intro activity. And then following that, there's a pledge, a junior wildlife scientist pledge, and that goes through the rules and expectations that you would that you would want to review with your students before going outdoors into this wonderful learning area. We also have, sensory observations in every level. We have field investigations where they can go and practice making observations in, the outdoors or the field, as scientists like to call it. We include a STEAM activity in every notebook so that you can get that, science, technology, engineering, art, and math kind of combo activity. We have some activities that highlight the web pages that we've developed. Our program has some specific web pages, the Wonders of Wildlife and Dig into Plants. We have some activities that focus on those web pages, or maybe it's an animal that students might, be a little afraid of, and we kind of highlight that so that maybe it's not so scary after all. Every notebook has a weather and seasonal observation activity, which is really great because you can study weather in any grade. There's scavenger hunts in all of the books, as well as just some topics in ecology or some activities to highlight some other outdoor areas beyond your outdoor classroom so that the students can then go out and use all of these skills that they've learned somewhere else. Maybe it's a map of the state parks or a map of national wildlife refuges. And so just getting students to understand that we have other outdoor areas in our state that are really great as well. So that's kind of just a summary of the activities that are in the notebooks. We also have, so for the badges, you'll notice in the student notebook and in the teacher guide and on the activity schedule, there's going to be something that says on some of the activities, they're kind of color coded. You can see this one here. This is the zoologist. This would be the first grade level. There's a couple of activities that are required for one of the badges. So to earn the badges, the students have to complete at least 3 activities in the notebook, but there's one required activity for each badge. So for the butterfly metamorphosis badge, the required activity is the design a model of the butterfly life cycle. It goes hand in hand with that badge. And then for the animal features and adaptations, for the animal adaptations badge, they have a required field investigation, animal features and adaptations. So it goes hand in hand. So in order to earn those badges, they have to do the one required activity for each badge plus 2 more activities. And we do have suggested activities for those as well that are, again, very topical for that badge. So I just wanted to point that out as far as what is required and suggested for the badge. And like I said, you can find that in the student notebook, you can find it in the teacher guide, and you can find it in the just on that cover page, that suggested activity schedule as well. The badges themselves are they're plastic, and they're like a bag tag almost, and that's what we've been calling them, like a bag tag. And they earn 2 per grade level, and these are correlated with the standards as well. We have kind of set it up too where they can earn 1 badge in the fall and 1 badge in the spring. I'll talk about that when I go over the activity schedule. But I guess I don't have to read all of them, but just knowing that they do kind of build. So as a kindergartner, they get to do the biologist. They're becoming biologists. So they're learning about living things. And then in first grade, we're kind of honing in on zoologists. So they're just going through the wildlife. And then for the next few grades, we cover different groups of organisms. So like the study of insects is entomology. So in second grade, they study pollination. Insects are great pollinators. So they get to become entomologists. And then in third grade, they're going to become herpetologists, where they're studying reptiles and amphibians. Fourth grade, they're studying birds. And then in fifth grade, they cover food chains and food webs, and it all kind of builds together, and they really become ecologists, which is how, everything interacts. So it does tend to build, and they can collect. If you start this with your kindergartners and if your school goes all the way through fifth grade, by the end, your kiddos could have like 12 badges, which is really cool. They can have a whole collection of all of they become experts in all of these categories, which is really great. So that's the badges, and that's kind of the breakdown of the grade levels. And then at the end of the school year, so, they've been completing activities throughout the entire school year. and they've earned a badge, along the way, and then they've earned their second badge. And at the very end of the school year, they can be awarded with a certificate of achievement, and you can fill in their name on here. And it comes on cardstock. It's really nice. And it says they're a certified entomologist in the Junior Wildlife Scientist program, or whatever level of scientist they are. They might be a biologist or a zoologist. So that's the certificate that would be awarded at the end of the year after you've completed, the activities for the badges, and maybe you've done all the activities in the book. That would be really cool too. So that's kind of the student components. They've got their notebook, they're earning badges, they're earning their certificate. And then on the teacher side of things, we did want it to be really approachable as well, because not everybody is super. Maybe you don't have a background of going outdoors and teaching about plants and animals, or specific science components. So we wanted to put together a teacher guide that would be really user friendly. And so each teacher guide follows the same order that the student notebook does. And it has a lesson plan that goes along with each activity, including the what does an ologist do and the pledge. And so in the teacher guide, we have the goal where you can kind of, what is the purpose of this activity? Does it fit in with what I'm teaching right now? It's kind of a really fast way for you to make a choice. Oh, this goes perfectly with what I'm teaching in the classroom anyways. We might as well go do it outside. It's got some activity tips, including what time of year is best for conducting the activity, whether it's you're looking for, like, if you have to do an activity when flowers are out, December may not be the best time to do it. Also, any materials that you might need, and what outdoor learning station you might need to use. So like it may be go to the sensory garden or go to the pollinator garden. And so we just wanted to include those activity tips there as well. And then it's got, of course, the learning objectives. What should your students be able to do after the lesson? It's got the standards listed in there in case you need to report those for anything. And then the background information really goes into, it's more for the teacher just to kind of brush up on that topic. We also include some educational resources options, they're just options. And so we'll have trade book options. And if there is a read aloud on YouTube for that one, we've included a QR code to go to that read aloud. So if you don't have the book in your classroom and you don't want to purchase the book, you can do the read aloud. Educational videos will also have QR codes to any of those. Anything that's going to help teach that lesson. We've put QR codes to all of the websites that would be helpful, including our own websites. If we use any of those, go to the Dig Into Plants webpage to learn more. That will be included there as well. And then step-by-step instructions for doing the activity, whether you're starting indoors or outdoors. It's got all of that listed there, and the answers for the activity. Some of them may not have specific answers, and then some of them may have very specific answers. So those are all going to be listed there as well. And so that's just something we wanted to put together so that it would be, again, user-friendly, something that you can grab and go. And if you're not super familiar with the topic, you can brush up on it before you teach it to your students. The activity schedule I mentioned, that is one of the first couple. It's just a sheet of paper that's kind of slipped in with your kit. It is, like Allison mentioned, a suggested activity schedule. We put this together with the thought of, we tried to put the activities that don't necessarily require you going outdoors. We kind of put those in the wintertime when you don't necessarily want to be going outside. We also, if there are activities that require, looking for a flower or looking for a pollinator, those are going to happen in the springtime when you would see those types of things. So it's suggestions for when to do the activity. We've also laid it out so that you can, if you're following roughly the activity schedule, you should be able to do the activities for one of the badges. You should be able to do all of them in the fall so that you can go ahead and award one of those badges before the holiday break. And then again, the second clump of required or suggested activities for the second badge would happen in the spring. And you'll notice when you get your kits, so if you've ordered a second grade kit, I don't know if you guys can see me or not, or just my screen, but for the badges, one of them is on a key ring and then one of them is not on a key ring. We put the key ring on the badge that, if you follow our schedule, that would be the one handed out during the fall or awarded during the fall, I guess right before the winter break, technically. So that's why there's a key ring on one of the badges and not the other one. Our thought was you could go ahead and give that one out in December before the winter break. And then come springtime, you'll have a second badge that you can attach to the first one, and then they can have two badges on their bag. So that's just why we have the activity schedule in there. We also, I know that we have mentioned you can hop around a little bit with the activities, or if you've got a rainy day and you want to do a rainy day activity in place of another one, that is totally okay. We do recommend, highly, highly recommend doing the What Does an Ologist Do activity and then the JWS pledge first, because it really does introduce the program and kind of lays out the expectations for the program and, you know, going outdoors and everything and learning in the outdoor classroom or outdoor learning area. So I would highly, highly recommend doing those first, regardless of whatever order you choose or, you know, change up for the rest of it. We do also have some suggestions for getting teachers involved. I know it's tricky sometimes if time can be limited. So team teaching is a great way to divide and conquer. If you have a special like STEM teacher or science teacher or person who might be more interested in those sciencey based activities, they could kind of lead those, and then the classroom teacher could lead, you know, the ELA activities and the ones that require more reading, like the Wonders of Wildlife and Dig into Plants. And of course, the sensory and scavenger hunts are always really fun. But that's just one way that you could kind of divide and conquer. You could also, you know, team teach and have one teacher kind of take the lead on part of the lesson and have another teacher take the lead on another part of the lesson. So there's different ways that you can go about making sure that everybody's comfortable using the resources. The last thing I just wanted to also share some pilot teacher feedback with y'all. So we did pilot this, and we did just some of the feedback we got was that it was really great. The students were so excited doing activities outdoors that they were already learning about indoors. They thought it was really cool. They were asking when they would get to go back outside. When are we going to go back outdoors to the outdoor classroom? I know Allison mentioned that they did an award ceremony for the badges, but we got a lot of feedback that the students really loved their badges and were so proud of them. And because it was a pilot program and the other students may not have been part of it, they got to like tell them about their badges. Of course, all of these activities, we do have a special sensory activity in each notebook, but we also just, when you're going out and making those observations and you're in a new location, when you involve all the senses, it makes it really fun and they don't forget it. So it helps them see their work. And I just wanted to throw this in there too. The teacher guide was a security for teachers who might not have a background going outdoors and teaching. And so that was one of our goals, was to make it really easy. So I just wanted to share that. And then if you have any questions about our program in general, I've got our webpage here. And if you have any questions about the Junior Wildlife Scientist program, you can use this email address. If you have any questions like right now about the webinar or anything that we covered, feel free to come off mute and just say it out loud or type it in the chat if you would rather. And thank you for joining us.